Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we used the Crimson Wanderer to destroy a bunch of Wraith Lords and a Webway Gate, and now we have to collect an ancient Fabricatus relic that will help us decipher more of this Viscerum prophecy and help our study of the Alpha Pariah.
We have the up-to-date Arga information. The vicinity of the ruins is swarming with Tuathal Eldari.
At least the Crimson Wanderer took care of the potential reinforcements.
The Elder will pose a considerable threat. Have you thought about deploying Sir Caradoc again?
I cannot risk the safety of the artifact by sending in a war machine with the most devastating weaponry in the entire system.
Noted. The Tech Priest is trying to scan the area for further information.
I'm on my way to the ruins. Contact me when the Tech Priest is finished with the scans.
Now, picking up with my thought from last episode about should the developers just work on a Martyr 2 or Inquisitor 2, and I had said, there's Chaosbane, for instance, had some good mission types outside of the standard gameplay loop or the story that, I think would make great additions to this game. I think that would be one good reason to make a new game. Another would be the bosses. I think the bosses need a bit more randomization to them. Just in the sense of I think you can have the normal bosses as they are, but I think there should be boss versions of any of these guys. Like a Wraith Lord, but it's a randomly generated name to make them, a named enemy. To get, they're a boss version, but they might get some extra stats, or if you go through 40K books and codices, they might have some varying war gear or a different ability. Just something to add a few more enemies for players to face. And hopefully that would mean also adding just more enemies and more loot and such. Like, I'm surprised they didn't add, named war gear. A flamethrower that's specifically has... It might have random stats, but certain parts of it are consistent. It's a flamethrower from the Adeptus Sororitas of one member who sacrificed himself, burning down a bunch of chaos or cultists. Some little bit that gives a certain bonus. Maybe it's guaranteed bonus damage or increased crit chance on heretics. Maybe it even gets a bonus, like, on kill, there's a % chance that the enemy explodes, dealing flame damage in an area. Little things.
You are walking among the bleached bones of a civilization that dreamt about your prophecy eons. How did that feel?
Remarkable. What is more remarkable is that I still have no idea why you were assisting me at all.
Why do you care? I am nothing but a speck of dust in the terrible storm that will one day awaken a god.
If that was meant to reassure you, you failed.
But it would just add almost another tier of weapons. Or you could even... They have the rarity that's red tier, that's Archaeotech, but none of it is actually Archaeotech. There are weapons that aren't used anymore, not because they weren't good. There's a lot of weapons like, I believe it's Phosphax, very dangerous in 40K lore. They just don't know how to make them, or the process is so time-consuming that they don't. They're still good weapons. you know, have that in your Archaeotech along with your standard weapons as kind of a bonus. Hey, you can get some really cool stuff that's exclusive. And, I mean, there's the chance to, if you do some random rolls, you could have some interesting bosses, especially when it comes to, say, Black Legion. Since Black Legion draws from pretty much everyone, since they're, for all intents and purposes, Chaos United, you could have, you know, a boss Space Marine who, you know, rolls a standard Space Marine. Okay, he rolls an Assault Marine.
Can you feel it? Like a vast, terrible heart beating in anticipation. Your battle awaits.
You let me fight your own kind, but you refuse to participate.
I walk a more elusive path. The Taupo might see me as almost as alien as you do, but I will not fight my own people. I was not referring to that battle, though.
But it could roll, you know, an Assault Marine, it could roll a Raptor, it could roll the character to be a Rubric Marine. You know, now he deals completely different damage, high health, low mobility, stuff like that. They could actually add Thousand Suns and all these other groups, especially for Chaos, that aren't touched on. You could add Orcs. I'm a little disappointed that throughout all this I don't get to hear someone screaming "Wah." But back to Chaos, they could roll... just everything can roll different. You know, you take a Dreadnought. You have standard Dreadnought, you have the different models of them, and then you have, you know, a Tzeentch Dreadnought versus a Khorne Dreadnought. They're different. Their equipment is different. You could have so many different changes, and I wouldn't complain. I think it would be cool. That's a helmet. It kind of... in a weird way, it kind of reminds me of Archaon the Ever-Chosen's helmet. But I just think there's a lot of things that could go on in a Inquisitor 2. More classes. You could finally give us, you know, a I'm trying to think. Either you could do a Grey Knight, but I feel like that's a little too cheap, or you could do a Death Watch member. You know, a Space Marine, for all intents and purposes. I think it would be cool. Then for the, if you want to stick with the 3 armor choices, there could be standard Space Marine armor, then you have Assault Marine and Terminator armors. You know, standard does, I would say, massively increased damage reduction for a little bit. Assault gives you the jump pack, and Terminator gives you rockets that you can barrage an area with. You could have a bunch of cosmetic choices to change it to kind of reference other chapters. You know, oh, you can get a helmet that's more along the lines of... I'm trying to think, like, you could pick anyone. Space Wolves, you could do... I think it's a Corvus pattern, the Beaky Boy helmet. You could... There's enough choices. And I think it'd be cool, and it would give players a good amount of variety. Of course, what would make them separate from a Crusader? It really depends. I would almost say you could give them the ability to have a retinue. It puts them very close to the Tech Adept, but it kind of goes with the whole Death Watch idea. You're effectively forming a kill team. other than that, just, you know, more vehicles, more variation. There's a good amount that could be done, and I think, realistically, it's probably not a bad decision. As much as I don't want this game to end, I feel like it kind of has to at some point.
Overheat!
I would like to have one where I can play as Chaos, but then it's no longer Inquisitor, which is kind of a kick in the nuts here because the name has locked the game into a certain set of characters. Because then you could start pulling some real wild stuff, you know.
They were seekers of power and truth. So many of them came here, like wolves with flames, only to end up as wicked husks.
The remains of the Silence expedition. But I am an Inquisitor. I will not fail.
You are not allowed to fail. Just yet. You have the living, breathing key to the prophecy.
You could have, if there was a game that included Chaos, a player could be, you know, a Plague Marine. And then you get Bile Throwers and Plague Fists. You could have abilities that make it so when you kill an enemy, you can infect them with, or just standard, through combat, infect them with Nurgle's Pox, and then for a few seconds after they die, they come back as a zombie. You could have tons of Psyker abilities as a Rubric Marine or a Chaos Sorcerer. But even just as Inquisitor, yeah, a sequel is kind of needed. This was a good start, but considering the seasons thing, I get the feeling they're not doing much else. But I don't blame them. I feel like this was more of a learning experience for the developers, which is a good thing. I mean, certain things worked with this game, certain things didn't. A lot of these kind of side modes they introduced. There's one where you hold out against just waves and waves of enemies as long as possible. There really isn't a point to it. It's just not that good. You know, it's not Halo 3, you can't have, or ODST, you can't have Firefight. And that's what it kind of tries to be in a weird way, and it just doesn't work in my eyes. I feel like Chaos Bane has some better modes like that, where you can just get up and go. Why is there a Dark Eldar here? Also, she's apparently very strong. Oh, villain. Yeah, that would explain things. But that's just me. I always try to look for what can be. Plus then they could introduce the Necrons and all that. But I'll ask you guys who view this what you think, you know. Is it a good idea to make a sequel? Do you think this game needs to kind of keep going for a bit longer? Because, like I said, it realistically could go either way. I should probably go back to Plasma. We're gonna have to fight those guys no matter what I do.
I find your stubbornness astonishing, human. You have caused enough pain and suffering already. Whatever is hiding under that force field, it is ours.
Why does that warlock sound like he smokes like 3 packs of cigarettes a day? You're an Eldar, you're supposed to sound better than that. I expect him to be like some 80-year-old woman named Ethel asking where her cigarettes are with a voice like that.
Area scan completed. Highly irregular energy signature located.
And how does that tell me exactly?
The presence of an energy field, evidently generated by Xenos technology, must indicate the location of the relic you seek.
Let's run back to where I was. Oh, one thing that would be nice too is a sequel would hopefully iron out some of these tile issues. As you can see, we'll spin this right. The middle and right tile columns, for the most part, flow, but then the left, just, I don't know if it's the mini-map or what, but it just feels very abrupt. Like, you go from here and then bam, it looks really off. Yeah, like this whole tile area isn't... It's weird.
I've been wondering for a while how this relic could have survived countless millennia, but now I know.
Analysis. Impenetrable energy field. Signature identical to the force field protecting the status chamber of the Martyr.
That barrier needed to be deactivated by a specific key.
Theory. The powers of the Alpha subject might interact with the field.
Inquisitor, you have incoming.
Oh, we got another, trying to think what it is, Wave Serpent? Yeah, it's a Wave Serpent, because it doesn't have the, giant prism, the fire prism cannon. Does anybody else think Eldar tech is so strange?
Overheat!
It feels like a mishmash of different ideas they've had over the years. Because you look at, you know, the splinter cannons and shuriken pistols and stuff. It's like, oh, it just launches these shards of, I assume to be Wraithbone. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then you have stuff like the fire prism, where they're just like, yeah, here's a big-ass crystal that we just pipe energy through. It's like, that's not a bad idea either, but for the guys who have the shuriken pistols and, you know, the D cannons, which literally just tear a hole and create a black hole, it feels very strange. You know, one thing doesn't match with the others. It's... maybe it's just me. You know, I feel like there's a disconnect with their aesthetic.
Overheat! Sergeant, I need the Alpha Pariah. Send her to me.
Allow me to join the fight, Inquisitor.
Anything could happen to us here, Thorn. Anything. If I do not make it back, you must deliver all my findings to the Conclave.
Affirmative.
Are you serious, Inquisitor? I feel a resonance with this thing, but none of us know what will happen if I step closer.
I give you an artifact from the dawn of the universe, the key that might unlock your true potential, and suddenly you are afraid?
I was only making an observation in the light of my recent ordeals. I hope you don't expect me to apologize.
My expectations are irrelevant. My orders matter, however.
If this is indeed my legacy, you can expect a heartfelt apology from me.
We will discuss your impertinence later. Now proceed.
Bravo! What a fabulous performance. Inquisitor, my only remaining part in this play is to take the Alpha Pariah with me and let the curtain fall.
I knew that I couldn't trust you. You have manipulated me, Elder.
I have merely woven all the threads together, twinning the fate of the Talthal Eldari and yourself, Inquisitor, until you all made this moment happen together.
I have warned you once. Playing games with an Inquisitor is dangerous, even for your kind.
This is not a game, human. The Anathema Ultima must be adorned with the crown of emptiness. Only then will she enter the Immaterium to fulfill a destiny both frightening and majestic.
I suspect that you have other plans for her.
The Anathema Ultima is the brightest glimmer of hope for us. For the Inari, this is inevitable.
Wow, that's a lot of health. But she takes suppression damage very easily.
I was expecting at least some assistance from you.
It was your battle to fight, not mine.
And now you talk like the Harlequin. How are you feeling?
It is difficult to explain. My will is... It is a barbed, poisonous thing. And it is also smooth and cold as obsidian. And it is a weapon, and a key, and the tincture that heals the black wound on the world.
I don't like this. The Magos will take a look at you on the ship.
Alright, that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
We have gathered here to bring forth a prophecy that was foretold at the dawn of the galaxy. The Alpha Pariah shall be adorned by the crown of emptiness and destroy the Dark Nexus by sailing into the Empyrean.
Very poetic, also fundamentally wrong. The Dark Nexus is not our priority here. Fabius Bile is one of the most abhorrent adversaries of the Imperium. We shall attack his hideout. I have traveled here on the Martyr, now properly purged and blessed, with the zealots of my order on board. It should be a sufficient force.
So very hereticus of you. May I remind you that Bile's Starfort is inconveniently close to the most terrible warp anomaly ever seen in this sector?
They use this Alpha Pariah to destroy Bile. That's where her true capabilities lie, don't they? Before we deal with the Dark Nexus, we have to eliminate the Primogenitor.
I must object. We simply cannot allow the Alpha Pariah to get close to Bile. That traitor played a huge part in her creation. What if he seizes control of her? Use her to obliterate the Dark Nexus, which is also the source of Bile's power. Then we will deal with the Primogenitor on our own.
You know the Alpha Pariah the best, Inquisitor. I think you should have your say before I chime in. It is most unfortunate, but I must respectfully disagree with your decision, Inquisitor. It seems we have reached an impasse, and honestly, This is her fate we are talking about. This should be her decision. Whatever action the Alpha Pariah takes, it will have colossal consequences. I simply don't have a say in this matter.
Nonsense! We are Inquisitors. We rule over life and death for the sake of the Imperium.
Inquisitor Mercer, I really appreciate your concerns. Inquisitor Crabart, I even see your point. But I made my decision a long time ago. I will follow the prophecy. But first, I will kill Fabius Bile. I have seen some of my unsuccessful iterations in Uther's laboratory. The cursed handiworks of Bile. I have to stop him and end this cycle of suffering and pain. I want to destroy that worm. On one condition.
What would that be?
You, Inquisitor, will accompany me, and we will face Fabius Bile together.
I wouldn't have it any other way.